When using the laser, you determine the trajectory. I've measured the height where the laser was, which is in line with the trajectories direct into the bullet hole mark B and into the wall. Now at the distance of 2.2 meters, the height was about 130 centimeters or 1.3 meters. Now at this height, what I did is I wanted the measurements of the accused. Now with the accused, if he's wearing the prosthesis, the shoulder level is around 155 centimeters. Now in height of 155 centimeters, holding the firearm straight, it's too high for the trajectory. Now if you get the accused without the prosthesis, stretching the arms, the shoulder level, it's around 123 centimeters, 1.23 meters. Now at this, it's close to the trajectory that I found when placing the laser. Now if we place him around that area with the firearm pointing at the door, the only difference between where the laser was and the height of the shoulder is about 7 centimeters. Now the 7 centimeters can be compensated by the slide of the firearm. If he's holding the firearm, he's holding the grip of the firearm, he's not holding the slide. The slide is at the top of the firearm. Now the slide can compensate the 7 centimeters, and the other thing is when you're shooting, you align the sides of a firearm with your eyes. You are not shooting from this like elbow. You're actually raising your firearm a bit to align the sides of your firearm with your eyes. Now that can compensate the 7 centimeters. And if the accused is wearing the prosthesis, shooting at that same position, we look at the elbow height. With the elbow height is 126 centimeters. Now at 126, the difference is about 4 centimeters. Now it will depend on where the firearm is held. He can shoot with the prosthesis at this position, holding the firearm. You get the same length or the same height. Now when you do reconstruction, my lady, we look at the 3 possibilities or the 3 positions. We look at the probable position, which is the most possible position, and we look at the possible position but awkward, and we look at the impossible position. If I can explain that, I'll say that if shooting without the prosthesis, holding the firearm, this is the most probable position that you could have shot. Now shooting with the prosthesis, holding the firearm, it's possible, but it's an awkward position. The impossible position, I'll say that shooting while lying on the ground, holding the firearm in this position, to reach that height is going to be impossible.
Captain, I just have to now explain what you did, try and put in words what you just showed. You indicated, and I think that's on the record, that the most probable position is without the prosthesis in a normal firing position.
That's correct, my lady.
The improbable position is on the prosthesis, having the firearm in his hand, shooting from his hip.
From the shoulder, that's correct, my lady.
From the hip.
That's correct, man.
And the last impossible position, you've indicated being on the floor, shooting at the door, lying flat.
That's correct, my lady.
Then, Captain, you then describe the best possible and probable explanation in paragraph 19 of your report. Would you just read that into the record?
Right, paragraph 19, my lady. I said, taking the aforementioned evidence into context, the best possible and probable explanation are as follows. The deceased was initially in an upright behind the closed door inside the toilet area. She sustained a penetrating wound on the right side of the hip. She then assumed an intermediate seated or semi-seated position where she then received further wounds and then assumed the position next to the toilet seat. Meaning that the first shot hit her while she was in a standing position, and then she changed position. She seated on the top of the toilet magazine where she sustained the other 2 or the other 3 wounds, including the one on the right left end, and then she ended up with her head on top of the toilet seat.
And in the last sentence, you indicated.
With the last sentence, I said the shooter was most likely not wearing the prosthesis legs and fired from a distance greater than 60 centimeters.
Now, Captain, let's deal with two other aspects. Have you had an opportunity to study a Glock pistol?
That's correct, my lady. I studied the Glock pistol, my lady.
Could you just explain to the court the safety mechanisms of a Glock 27?
My lady, with the Glock pistols, we've got different types of models of Glock pistols, and they come in different calibers. It's 9, you can get it in 9mm, you can get it in 40 Smith & Wesson, you can get it in 4.45 ACP. Now, the mechanism, the working mechanism of all those Glock systems are the same. It does not have a thumb safety where you can put it on safe or on fire, but it has what you call the trigger safety. And the safety mechanisms of the Glock pistol are 3, and they work automatically. Now, with the trigger safety, what happens is when you pull the trigger, you have to pull it to the center where the trigger safety is positioned. If you don't pull it on, maybe you put it on the side or the top, the trigger will not move. The trigger safety will keep it in position. You have to deactivate the trigger safety first for the trigger to move backward. Now, when the trigger safety is deactivated or is activated, it automatically activates what you call the firing pin lock. Now, the firing pin lock is activated while the trigger is not pulled. It prevents the firing pin to move forward. Now, when the trigger is pulled with the trigger safety, what happens is it goes a little bit up, giving the firing pin space to move. And at the same time, when you pull the trigger, it deactivates the trigger safety at the back, whereby the firing pin, it deactivates the firing pin safety at the back, whereby the firing pin will be able to move forward. So if you don't pull the trigger on the trigger safety, the firing pin lock will remain there, and the firing pin safety at the back will keep the firing pin at the back. So meaning that if you don't pull the trigger, this firearm will not be able to fire a shot or discharge ammunition.
Now, is it possible, I've heard you said, I just want to share another scenario with you. If you would just cock that firearm without pulling the trigger, will that fire?
If you cock the firearm without pulling the trigger, it will not discharge ammunition. And if you cock the firearm, pressing the trigger, as long as the slide is still open, it will not fire the trigger. The slide has to be closed first, and if it closes the slide, then you release the trigger and pull it again, it will discharge ammunition.
Then, Captain, we read evidence about a shot being fired through the sunroof of a car into the air. Is that dangerous?
My lady, firing a shot into the air, it's dangerous and it's lethal. It all depends on how you hold your firearm. You can hold your firearm, when firing a shot at 90 degrees, where your firearm, the bullet travels at 90 degrees. What happened in this instance is the bullet leaves the barrel at the speed of between 350 to 280 meters per second, traveling upwards. That's force of gravity acting against the bullet, and there's wind deflection acting against the bullet. The bullet will travel upward, up to a point where it will stop, and then it comes back. When it comes back, now it's force of gravity pulling it downwards. At one stage, the wind deflection is going to balance the speed of the bullet. Now, you'll find that at one stage, the bullet will be traveling at the speed of, if it's a 9mm bullet, that's way between 115 and 123 grains. The average speed of the bullet when it's coming down will be about 80, 81, 82 meters per second. Now, for a bullet to penetrate human body, you need about 50 meters per second, the speed required for a bullet to penetrate. Now, at that speed, if it's traveling over 80 meters per second, it will definitely penetrate human body, and it can cause danger or it can kill a person.
And if the angle is not exactly 90 degrees?
If the angle is not exactly 90 degrees, your bullet will be traveling in an oval shape, whereby the speed will be more than if it's traveling up and down, coming down straight at 90 degrees. And still, in that instance, the bullet can still kill a person.
Thank you, Malay. I've nothing further.
Yes, Mr. Roux.
Thank you, my lady. Captain, have you ever heard of the expression double tap?
Double tap. That's correct, my lady.
What is that?
With a double tap, meaning you pull in the trigger twice, my lady.
And the speed of that?
It depends on how fast you are.
How fast can you go?
That's correct, my lady.
How fast can you go?
How fast can I go? My lady, I shoot competition. I can do much better than somebody who doesn't shoot competition.
Can you do this?
I can do that.
Yes. Just to demonstrate to the court, it was 4 quick sounds in quick succession. It was rapid. You agree? The sounds that I've just made to you.
That's correct.
Just doof, 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 doof.
That's correct.
It's rapid.
That's correct, my lady.
Now, that is the version of the accused. It was 2 double taps.
2 double taps. My lady, I tend to disagree with that.
Why is that?
My lady, we look at the wound sustained by the deceased. If it's 2 double taps, she's in a standing position. I would expect both wounds to be here. The first double tap, if it's double tap and then double tap, then all the wounds will be here on this position.
Well,
there won't be any chance for the deceased to change position in that instance. It's impossible.
well, let's look at Dr. Stipp's evidence. Doof, doof, doof. That's now eyewitness. Doof, doof, doof. So we don't have to believe the accused. We have a version by Dr. Stipp. Doof, doof, doof. Quick succession, and he explained it as quick succession.
My lady, I still tend to differ that it can happen, the doof, 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 when referring to the second, the third, and the fourth shots. But with the first shot, what I can explain is between the first shot and the second shot, there's a break. I cannot determine how long is the break, but there's definitely a break between the first shot and the second shot. Wow. How do I determine the break is by looking at the wound sustained by the deceased. The wound is inflicted here. The deceased changed position from a standing position to a seated position on top of the magazine. That creates a break in between the first shot and the other shots. And then the rest of the 3 shots is whereby the deceased is in a seated position. Then I cannot tell if there's a break. Then it's possible for the other 3 shots to be that doof, doof, doof.
Well, let's look at it. Where did on the right arm, you saw secondary wounds to the deceased, caused by, according to Dr. Simon, Professor Simon, wooden splinters.
That's correct, my lady. We call them the secondary missiles. It's when the bullet perforates the door. It creates those small splinters or pieces of wood from the door being pushed towards the direction of the target. Now, when they hit the target, because of their shape, if they're sharp, they'll create secondary wounds on the around the main wound sustained by the deceased.
Where did you see those secondary wounds?
I saw them on the
Which side of the body? The right side.
on the right side of the arm.
What does that indicate to you? Which side was facing the door?
This is the side that was facing the door, my lady.
The right side.
It's on the side of the entrance, my lady.
So the right side's facing the door. When you look at the hip wound, will you agree that there's a collar of abrasion on top? It's more marked. It shows it's not a direct shot, a straight shot.
It's more?
It is not a straight shot. It's a shot that's not straight. There's a collar of abrasion on top, on the upper body part.
My lady, the bullet hit the door first. That could be the cause of that. It's unlike when it's a direct shot that is hit towards a person. It hits the door. When it hits the door is going to cause it's either deflection on that or unstableness on the bullet. So the collar of abrasion being at the top, I understand that because it went through the door first. If it was a direct shot whereby it didn't hit the door, it went through, then it would be a question mark also to me.
Yes, you get two situations in your test. Sometimes with your test done, it with no deflection, sometimes there will be deflection, but little.
That's correct, my lady.
So if there was no deflection, that would be consistent with the person slightly leaning on the hip to make the collar of abrasion on top.
My lady, I still don't disagree with that. It doesn't mean if there's no deflection, it means the bullet is still stable. It went through, but it can be starting to wobble. It's not exactly rotating smoothly, but it wobbles because it went through the first target.
We know we have a circular wound there with a collar of abrasion on top. It can be one of two things. It can be deflection, or it can be a body position that's not standing up straight, but leaning. It's one of the two.
Leaning, my lady, leaning, I don't understand
Forward.
the word leaning.
If you're leaning, bending forward. That would also be, all I'm saying, it can be the one, or it can be the other one.
It
Bending
can
forward.
be, but we must look at the wound.
Could you
It
just
can
respond to the first one?
It can.
Know more. ENCA.com.